Welcome back. Okay, so this is the story of my labor and delivery, and we're gonna get into it really quick. It ain't got much to say. We just gonna get into it because I feel like this is another thing that needs to be talked about, or something to just look out. If you're pregnant, thinking about being pregnant, you know, just some signs to look out for. If you haven't watched my pregnancy journey video and how I found out I was pregnant, it'll be linked somewhere around here because that's a story in itself, and I knew I couldn't talk about both of those in the same video. They needed their own thing, so let's get into it. So I preferenced this whole video to give a shout out to, I think, Miss Diana in the Pink, or Miss Diane in the Pink. She is the reason why I even knew what was going on, what gave me the signal of what's going on, what I'm going to discuss today, because I watched her to know what was going to happen week to week, certain signs to look out for labor, issues to look out for, different types of ways to give birth and things of that nature, like just all kind of things, pregnancy that she wanted to learn. And knowing that I only had 3 months to figure anything out, her videos really helped me, really helped calm me, really helped prepare me, really helped with how my labor and delivery story starts, to be honest. So this is how it started. I went to my last doctor's appointment. I was about 39 weeks and 2 or 3 days, one of the two. And I was still like 2 centimeters dilated, like not much movement, but my baby was growing, okay? I'll never forget, they did an ultrasound to check on my baby, you know, just see what the update was, and they estimated 8 pounds and 11 ounces. And at that point, I was getting a little worried. I'm like, okay, girl, when you gonna get here? You know, because my doctor was definitely heavily suggested induction and things of the nature. Set a birthday date for her, and I was like, I didn't want to do that. I wanted her to come when she was ready. But when they told me that, I'm like, hold on, girl, you getting a little big now. It's time to come on. Yeah, so I went to my doctor's appointment, and everything all checked out. You know, they set another appointment the following week if I hadn't had my baby by the time of my due date, because my due date was the Sunday of August the 21st. And so that Tuesday, they were like, you know, if you don't have your baby by your due date, then we're going to come back and reevaluate our lives and things of that nature. So I was like, okay. So in my mind, I'm like, I don't know. I guess we're going to have to go. I guess I'll be going over, you know. Along with my doctor's appointment, I developed a bad earache. And if I don't remember anything else as far as pain, I will never forget that earache. Oh my goodness. And I, you know, let them know at the appointment saying, hey, you know, my ear, I think I'm having an earache, blah, blah, blah. And they gave me some antibiotics or whatever. It was bad, y'all. That earache was bad. So that following night, I did not sleep. I did not rest at all because my earache was so bad. It was in this ear. And it was like, I can't lay on my left side. It's the side that I'm normally on because my ear ache hurts. Can't lay on my right side because the way my baby was positioned, she was more towards the right side. So she hated whenever I slept on my right side. I couldn't do it because she would immediately start kicking. And then on top of that, my ear it was still kind of giving pain. So the only other thing I could do was basically lay on my back. That's clearly not an option. That was very uncomfortable. So the only way that I could like get comfortable sleep was me literally just sitting up, and that was the worst. Like, I will never forget that night because I literally was crying. I was going through it, y'all. I did not rest that night at all until like maybe 6 o'clock that morning. Ooh. But because I had this earache and I could not sleep, I was going to the bathroom a lot, and when I was noticing every time I went to the bathroom that I had discharge, and it wasn't any specific color or anything, it was clear, but it was just a lot. So I just felt just really wet down there every time I would use the bathroom, and I was like, that's kind of odd, but you know, I didn't think too much of it. I was like, that's kind of odd. And then I also noticed that like when I would sit up and sit all the way up, I would feel like cramping. Like I get like basically probably contractions. I would feel like a little cramping. And I'm like, okay. But it was only if I set up in a specific way, in a specific position, when I would actually feel it versus any other way. And so the next day comes, and I call my mom, you know, just to tell her about my night, because I was crying about how much pain I was in. But I also told her about the discharge, and I also told her about the cramping that I was feeling. And when I told her about the cramping, I was like, is it possible for you to only sit a certain way and it would make you feel, you know, cramps or like, you know, make the cramps come on? She was like, no. You probably just feel it more that way because of the position that you're in. But she said, but no, what you're probably feeling could be like contractions. And so I started to think about the labor signs video that I watched from Miss Diane in the Pink. And she talked about how sometimes when your water breaks, it isn't always a gush. It's not always a gush of water creating down like people usually say. Sometimes it can happen in a slow trickle effect. And so I was like, maybe that's what I have going on. And so again, I wasn't in any pain or anything. I really was chilling throughout the day, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna call my doctor's office just to let them know what's going on, just to let them know, because like I really wasn't thinking much of it, honestly. Like I was like, oh, I don't think it's a big deal. So I called them and let them know, and they weren't really concerned when I told them about the contractions. But when I told them about my discharge, they were like, whoa. They were like, let's get you to come in, let's test to see if it's amniotic fluid, because if so, that means your water potentially ruptured. I'm laughing because that night did not go as planned at all. So my plan for that night was I was gonna go to the store. I was literally getting ready to go to the store because my husband was coming home from work that night, and we were gonna do like a little pizza date. Again, like I'm not thinking that I'm about to have the baby anytime soon. Like that's just where I was at with it. So we were gonna have a little pizza date. I was gonna run to the store, get some stuff for the baby, and then get some pizza. And so when we get home, we have a little pizza date, chill, whatever, blah, blah. That's not what happened at all. So I'm literally getting ready to go to do all of these things. It's about like 3-4 o'clock, and I get a phone call from my doctor's office, and they were like, hey, we do have someone on call that can help, that can use to come test your amniotic fluid. So they were like, if they weren't, they were gonna give me a call back to let me know if I needed to go into the doctor's office or go to labor and delivery specifically, or the emergency room. I can't remember which one. I think they wanted me to go to labor and delivery. And I was like, oh, I was praying that I didn't have to do that, because I really didn't want to do that, because it seemed like when she told me that, it seemed like it was just gonna be a much longer process than versus popping in and out of the doctor's office. So I'm literally getting ready to go run these errands, and they're like, how soon can you get here? I'm like, I don't live far at all from the house, from the doctor's office. I'm on my way. I go, they wake me, blah, blah, and everything. No one's there because it's later in the afternoon. So it was a fairly quick office visit. And they tested me, and they pretty much told me that they'll find out the results within the next hour towards this evening. So they were like, just look out for a call from us, because we're either going to tell you it's okay, stay home, or come back and come to labor and delivery. So at that point, I started freaking out a little bit, because I'm like, oh, we might be having this baby for real, okay? The one thing about it when it comes to pregnancy, like, you're excited about your baby coming, and you're excited about this whole journey, becoming a mom, blah, blah, blah. But the one thing is, when it's time for the baby to actually come, like, that's just the one thing I'm just kind of like pushing to the back of my mind every single time. And I'll never forget, before I had my baby, people were telling me how, oh, you're gonna have that baby soon, you're gonna have the baby early. And I would get so mad at them. I'm like, no, like, why are you trying to rush my baby to get here? I'm ready to see my baby, but I ain't that ready. So yeah, I'm kind of freaking out a little bit, but they let me go. They didn't need me to stay in the office. They let me, you know, leave, and they said they'll call me back with the results, and we'll go from there. So I'm still running my errands, because where the doctor's office was across the street from where I needed to go anyway. So I'm running my errands, blah, blah, blah. And about 30 minutes later, I'll never forget, I was in the parking lot of Target. Before I even walked to go in, I get a call back from the doctor's office. They say your test came back positive for amniotic fluid, so hurry on to labor and delivery and let's have this baby. I said, okay. So I'm in the parking lot of Target kind of freaking out like, this is real. It's not a drill. It's not a drill. This is real, y'all. It's gonna happen for real. And the first thing I do, I call my husband. He didn't answer. I called his supervisor. He didn't answer. I'm like, oh my Lord, baby. I called mama. She didn't answer. So I called my sister and I'm like, telling her I'm freaking out. I'm like, okay, they're telling me I need to go to the hospital. She's like, okay, calm down. Do you need me to come up there? And I'm just like, yeah, because I live about 2 hours away from my family. So I'm like, yeah, can you come up here? And just like having a very small panic attack in the parking lot of Target. Meanwhile, the lady called me and told me all this, and I'm sitting here looking at Target like, do I have time to go in? And thinking the half out of it, I had time to go in, but that's neither here or there. On top of that, before I had left to go to the doctor's office, period, I was like, this is the moment. I was like, Bree, this is the moment you're supposed to bring your hospital bag. Like, I had it packed and it had everything but some baby clothes that I needed for the hospital, and that's what I was gonna get. But I didn't have it in the car, and I was like, Bree, this is the time that you put the the bag in the car. Like, I literally thought that, but I had already left, so I was like, I ain't turning back around. And sure enough, this was the exact time for me to have that hospital bag in my car. So I leave Target and I go back to the doctor's office. Mind you, the doctor's office and the labor and delivery, like the hospital was set off in sections, so everything is in the same vicinity of each other. So I leave Target, go back over to labor and delivery. I park and I walk in, and labor and delivery was on the second floor. So I got on the elevator. I walked in, I walked to the elevator, got on the elevator, and I walked to labor and delivery, and I was like, hi, my name is Brianna. The doctor said they're expecting me. Baby, they looked at me so crazy. They were like, what are you doing walking up here like your water did not just break? And I'm just in there like, I didn't know. They was like, you should be being wheelchaired up here right now. Just me. Nobody told me that's what I had to do. My legs were fine. My body was okay. Here I am. Checked into my hospital room, and then I explained to them, I'm like, well, my water didn't break, it ruptured, so it's not like I just gushed out. So they probably were just thinking like, this baby finna get right now, blah blah. But that wasn't the case. So so in the hospital, night comes, and I get like 2 hours later, everybody comes at the same time. It went from nobody being with me to everybody being with me, and like, it was so crazy because everybody was coming from different places, but for some reason, everybody got to the hospital at the same time. My husband, my parents, and my sister, they all came to the hospital at the same time, no matter where they was coming. They would come from different places and left at different times. So, you know, they checked me and everything, and I'm chilling in the hospital. And now I'm kind of like, dang, I done told everybody this was going on, but like, nothing's really happening. And I don't think no one really talks about how the process of labor can be, and how it can be from, you can go into labor and boom, have that baby boom right then and there, or you can go into labor and not have the baby until the next day, or sometime maybe the next 2 days, depending on what the situation is. So everybody's just like up here in the hospital, and I'm just sitting here chilling. Honestly, I'm just in pain because I have an earache. And so The nurse came in and she was telling me how, you know, they might go ahead and start and induce me because of the rupture, because they don't want, you know, sepsis to sink in. I think an infection to sink in, and then sepsis and all that stuff. And then the lady, my nurse, she was like, I don't know. She was like, I don't know. She was like, I'm gonna test you again for your fluid because I don't know. She was like, she was like, amniotic fluid has a smell, da 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 da. I don't smell that with you. Let's test this again to make sure that you're supposed to be here. So I'm like, okay, cool. That made cool for me, cool for you. Like, whatever. Let's just figure it out. Because at this point, I don't know. So she gets another test done on me, and then another lady comes in to do an ultrasound to check the amniotic fluid, and indeed it was positive, and indeed the amniotic fluid was significantly less, you know, or under the normal levels. So my water did break. So that night they kind of let me rest and everything, and then that morning my doctor was there. My doctor came in, and you know, they were like, we're gonna induce you. If you know what that means, you're gonna get don't fight me for the name. I think it's Pitessin. But before they did that, they finished breaking my water. So I had to get, they stuck a little stake. It looks like a stake thing that you would drive through a vampire's heart, except it ain't silver. Of course, it's plastic. And then stick that up there and pop. And sure enough, the rest of my water broke by that point. But I still wasn't super dilated. I was still probably like 2-3 centimeters at the time. So they put me on the Pitessin. I'm gonna look it up. To get the ball rolling. And so from 9 a.m. then around 9-10 o'clock, that's when everything started. I never forget, shout out to my nurse. She came in and she looked at me and she said, what kind of birth do you want? What do you desire? How do you want to bring this baby into the world? Like, straight up looked at me and asked me that. I said, if I can, I want to do it naturally. And she said, all right, we're going to do everything that we can to make sure that happens. And when I tell you, that lady did everything she could from her shift, from the time her shift began to end, she did everything that she could possibly do to try and make that happen. And I would never forget that. I'm so thankful for the team that I have, because I'm going to be honest with you before I go any further. Like, I was scared. Sorry, my camera battery died. But back to what I was saying, honestly, I was very anxious about my labor experience because I didn't really have the time to really research the doctors and and go into depth, you know what I'm saying? Because I just didn't have I didn't have a lot of time. I only had 3 months to get together what I was gonna do, you know what I'm saying? And I had so many things to think about. So once I found a doctor, I pretty much stuck with them. And so I was just afraid of what was going to happen, how I was going to be treated, being a black woman that's pregnant. We know the stigma, we know the data, and we know what happens when it comes to us as being black women and being pregnant in the hospital. So we know how that goes. So all that was kind of racing through my mind at that point, because I just really, it hit me like, I don't know how this is really going to go. But yes, thankfully to my nurses, they really worked with me that whole day. It was really a beautiful thing to see, because it eased my anxiety so much. And it eased my anxiety even more because the lady who worked with me was the lady that I had to go see during my pregnancy. We had to go to an epidural class, which really was a labor and delivery class. And it was mandatory for us to go and attend in order for us to do the epidural, blah, 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 so do paperwork and all that good stuff. But it really was just a labor and delivery class, just to kind of run down on what they do and things of that nature. And she eased my mind so well during that time while I was pregnant. So when I saw her come in and see that she was gonna be my nurse helping me that day, it just made it even better. And she just was the sweetest person. Shout out to Miss Brandy. I'll love her forever. So yeah, she had me on the peanut and everything, you know. So once they induced me and everything, my contractions started coming in, and at first they weren't too bad or anything, you know. They were just going and flowing, and she put me in so many different type of positions. She brought the peanut ball in, you know, got me bouncing on the ball and all this type of stuff, and it really just helped me get through those contractions. And y'all, I was trucking. I was really trucking, you know. She got me out of the bed, sitting on the peanut ball, everything, like, and it really helped when I felt my contractions coming. I felt them come through. It really helped working. She showed me different positions. There was one where my husband had to stand behind me and kind of hold my belly while it happened, and that, you know, that was also, it was just a good experience to go through. Like, it was just a really good experience. And the contractions, they were painful, but I was really trucking through. Like, they weren't that painful to me until she put me in this one particular position. Because before we get to this, I was really like trying to go as far as I can before I say give me the epidural, y'all. I was like, I was like in my mind, I was like, I want to at least get to 7 centimeters. That was my goal, to at least get to 7 centimeters. Then, you know, see how I am then, and then we'll go from there. But didn't happen. I was 4 centimeters good, and I was like, give me the epidural. So I was trucking through my contractions. Like, you know, they were hurting, but it wasn't like hurt to the point where they were just unbearable and I couldn't do it. Like, I was really trucking through them. And like, again, I started at like 9 a.m. It wasn't until I would say around 3 or 4 when I got my epidural. So I was really trucking along, y'all. And I was doing great until she put me in this one position. It was laying in the bed sideways, and she had the peanut. She put the peanut in between my legs. I'm laying sideways, leg underneath, peanut in the middle, leg on top. Girl, them contractions, I literally started crying. I literally started crying, and I was trying. After I had about 5, 6 sets of those types of contractions in that position, I said, oh no. And then after that, baby, they just didn't let up after that. I said, I can't do this. I was really crying. I was like, please, can you tell them that I'm ready for the epidural? Like, I was crying, y'all. Oh, they hurt. But beforehand, honestly, for me, in my experience, the best way that I can explain how contractions felt to me, and that's how I explained it to my husband, I was like, it's like you gotta poop really bad. You know, you ever had the feeling of having to poop and you was out and about and it hit you, like, ooh, no, I gotta use the bathroom, I gotta go, and it's like your stomach really like, I like, that's how cramps feel, but times 10. Like, that was the best way I can explain how they felt to me. But yeah, so they gave me the epidural, which honestly was great because I had anxiety about it too. But the man who administered it, he did an awesome job. I really didn't feel anything. Like, I remember in the class, she said that the epidural was not going to be painful. She said, honestly, what's going to be the most painful is you getting your IV, and she wasn't lying about that. Getting that IV hurt. Getting an epidural did not hurt. It was really a breeze. He did such a great job. I only got pricked like 4 or 5 times, and it really was no pain towards it. And it kicked in immediately. And after that, it felt great. Shout out to the natural mamas. I really wish I could be on the outside, but I'm on the whole complete opposite side, and that's okay. But I feel so much peace after I got the epidural because, like I said, the night before this, I was at the hospital. I didn't sleep the first night in the hospital. I really didn't sleep because of my earache. And then the night before that, before I even went to the hospital, I didn't sleep because of my earache. So that was my first time being able to rest, and I slept so well. I got a good nap in. I was rested because I was so tired. And that was another reason why, I think that was another reason why that made me want to get the epidural, because I was exhausted and in pain and just, I felt so drained. So that was great. But I will say after that, my labor time really slowed down after that. And they do say that if you get the epidural, especially if it's your first time, it will slow down your labor time. And that's exactly what happened. Like, yes, I was getting contractions and they were big according to the graph, but it just was like I just wasn't progressing as fast as I could have been progressing. So it's probably, you know, around 5, it's around 4 or 5 o'clock, I remember, because my doctor would coming in and out, and he kept checking me, and he was pretty much saying, like, if I didn't get to a certain point by a certain time, then we would have to do other measures, meaning a C-section. And I was like fighting against it so hard, like no. And my nurse, my nurses, they were both trying to give me. They were both trying to have me have that baby. Like, nah, we're not doing that. And so every time he said I needed to hit a certain centimeter by a certain time, if I wasn't there by a certain time, we had to do it. I was hitting them. It took a while, but I was hitting them. The biggest reason why they were such in a rush to do it was because of the fact that my water ruptured, and so they didn't want to risk infection. I was taking antibiotics that whole time that I was there, and so they were just, you know, he was very skeptical about that. He didn't want me to go into a septic shock, these and that, you know, basically just trying to be preventive. But I was okay. My temperature was fine. Like, everything was good. The baby was good. We were all good. So I got to about 7 centimeters. So like I said, around 7 o'clock or so, I was definitely around 7 centimeters. The nurse that was with me all day, she had to leave, and my new nurse came in, and she was also, you know, helping me. And they were checking me, and it was like, it was softening up. I was at 7 centimeters. They can feel her head. They felt the hair. They was like, oh, she has a lot of hair, but she did have a lot of hair when she was born. But it was like I was just stuck at that 7 centimeters, and they put me on different types of positions. They put me to the front of the bed, you know, like really moving me around, really trying to get the weight to come down. And it just was not happening. And so I would say around 8 o'clock, I believe it was 8 o'clock. The doctor came in and he was like, okay, you know, they're checking on me and you know. It was about 8 o'clock, and the doctor came back in and checking on me and seeing that I'm, you know, progressing, but it's kind of stalling. And so they're playing the waiting game at this point. We're all playing the waiting game. And everything was okay, but then my temperature started to rise. So, you know, they were taking my temperature every so many, I don't know, it was a minute at that point. They were pretty on par on taking my temperature and checking my heart rate and the baby's heart rate, and my temperature started to rise. So I was like 98-ish around the day, and then it started going from 98 to 99 to like pushing 100. And so they were like, at that point, that's when things took a turn. So my fever, my temperature was rising, my heart rate was also rising. And also my baby's heart rate was rising. I think her heart rate, the whole day her heart rate was in between like 130 and 150. At that time it was going to like 180, like, and up almost. I think it almost hit 200. I can't remember, but it got up there. And so at that point, that's when things took a very drastic lift. And it was like, my doctor was like, okay. He straight up looked at me. He said, this is your option at the end of the day. He was like, but your temperature's rising, your heart rate's rising, your baby's heart rate is rising. He said, if you want to continue to bear on and push on, that's your option. We'll do that. But he's like, we need to get that baby out of there. Like, straight up with him, said, we need to get that baby out of there. And at that point, I was just devastated. I was hurt because that was the one thing I didn't want to do. I didn't want to do what I didn't want to do. Me and my husband, we both talked about it. We just really wanted to have the baby, you know, vaginally, naturally. And he was so supportive during all, like, it was so great to have him there just during that day, even though it didn't end up that way. Like, we really trucked, really pushed. I'm sorry. It's just still, it still makes me emotional thinking about it, because, you know, we always want to go natural. Of course, natural is the best that we want to go, but it doesn't always get to be that way, you know? And so the doctor, he told me that, he walked out, you know, let me basically make my decision, and told everybody that was in the room, they all left. My mom left the room, and just looked at my husband, and I just started crying. I started crying because I looked at him and I said, I don't want you to lose me. I don't want to lose her. I don't want you to lose both of us. Like, that was like, that's just where my mind looked at me. He looked at me. He said, look, everything's gonna be okay. And we prayed, held my hand, we prayed, and something had to come back and say, you know what, let's do this, because things just were not looking good, and I'm just like, thank God that it didn't go over, but it could have. So that was around 8ish, you know, and everything, and they got me ready. Since I had the Epidural already, it made it easy for them to go ahead and do the anesthesia, blah, 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 blah. And so went in around 9 o'clock, a little bit after 9, and my baby was born on August the 18th at 9:30 p.m. And I'll never forget, I was so nervous, because you gotta be up, you have to be awake for that surgery. Like, I don't think people understand the depths of that surgery, and the fact that you have to be awake for it. That's so crazy. But I'm thanking God, because the anesthesia worked, because I've seen things, I've seen people's stories talk about, you know, how I failed, or I failed partially on one side. Lord, just thank you, God, that it worked all the way. That's one thing I can definitely say. And I remember one of the ladies that was standing over me, you know, she was giving me encouraging words, and she's had 3 kids, they were all C-section. She's like, it's gonna be fine, and just trying to calm me down, keep me calm, calm me down. My husband was sitting right there next to me, just trying to keep me calm, and I was trying to keep myself calm. And my doctor did a great job. I just could feel it. I didn't feel the pain, but I could just tell that he was doing a great job. Now, that makes sense. Like, you can't feel what's going on, but you can just feel, as far as people, like, putting their hands on you. You feel emotions. It doesn't hurt, but it's like, okay, what y'all doing down there? You know, the best way to explain it is to feel like somebody is, like, punching you in your stomach, but you can't feel the pain. Like, somebody's going, bow, 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 bow. You know? But he did a great job. I could just tell by the way he was a really great doctor. But I never forget, I heard my baby's first cry, and they were like, she's here. And I was just overjoyed. I was like, oh my gosh, it's my baby. And he, like, holds my baby up to where I can see him. He's like, here's your baby. And let me tell you, my baby ended up being 8 pounds, 4 ounces, and she was every bit of that. Head, rolls, everything. And I looked, I said, oh my goodness, no wonder you weren't coming out. But I was so happy to see her. But the real reason, on top of the fact that I had a rupture in my amniotic fluid, on top of that, the way my baby was positioned, she was coming face first. She was coming face first, and that was another reason why it was hard for her to come, because she was coming face first. And if you know, the baby's supposed to come crown first, and the crown come like this. My baby was trying to come like this, you know. So that was a whole another thing on top of all of that. So in the end, I'm actually glad that we were able to do the C-section, and it was successful, because I don't know where we would be if we didn't. And I'm just being straight up honest. I don't know. But yeah, so I had a happy, healthy baby. The surgery was successful. I didn't have any complications afterwards. You know, everything was good. My, you know, didn't have like high blood pressure. Didn't have any preeclampsia symptoms or anything. You know, which I was thankful for either as well. So I did good, and so just had a recovery was something serious. If I were to talk about that, that would be a whole different video. But everything went good, and recovery, even though recovery was its own journey, it still was great. I am, on the date of this video, I am currently 24 weeks postpartum. I was supposed to then make this video, but I'm currently 24 weeks postpartum. I'm feeling great. I'm able to, you know, move around, be very mobile. I'm working out again, and I'm just really thankful for movement, because having a C-section, well, if you didn't know that your core is very important, you will know after having a surgery like that, because you do everything with your core, and you're not able to use your core. It makes it really hard to get things done, just to move, you know what I'm saying? So I'm just very thankful to move and move freely, you know. I don't have any pain issues. Sometimes, like, if I do certain things, like if I'm doing too much, I can feel a little soreness down there, or my periods come and I get cramps. I have just a little bit of soreness, not nearly as what I would feel towards the beginning. So, but yes, that was my labor and delivery story. I'm so sorry it was so long and drawn out, but I needed to get that out. I wanted to share that with you guys, because again, just like my pregnancy video, be prepared for anything. Anything is possible, anything can happen, and that my labor and delivery story is yet another one of the examples that anything can happen, and be prepared for anything. So if you're a new mom, not new mom, but if you're expecting or you think about having children, please look at all options. Please be ready for all options. Like, no, one thing people say, your birth story typically never goes how you want it to go, and that's just because it's life in general. But just be ready for whatever, and stay positive through it all. But if you made it through this video, I appreciate you so much. Like, share. I want to hear y'all's stories or y'all's comments that you go through this. You know, just comment down below. I want to hear what y'all have to say about, you know, maybe y'all's labor experiences. If it's similar to mine, I would love to hear that. But everything else, thank you so much. Have a good one. Bye, y'all.